Hey everybody, John Huber here, Maryland K-12. Looking into some of this stuff that's going over Woodlawn High School, but I can assure you it's not just Woodlawn. There's a lot of them in Baltimore County and other counties as well that are facing these types of situations or these types of problems. You know, if you're not following what's going on, just dig around a little bit on the local Maryland media. Woodlawn High, there was this massive brawl, and there's videos of it out. Um, unbelievable. And I've seen a few of those, maybe not quite that extensive, but I've been around a few of those in my time in Baltimore County. There was a few situations that really got ugly. But this is not like the exception. Apparently, I don't think that this brawl type thing goes on all the time, but just violence of all sorts. There's another story in the local media about a girl named Morgan. Says she was just walking down the hall and somebody came and attacked her. Says I was in math class. She was viciously attacked by another student. And the girl says she hardly knew who she was. She doesn't remember much from the attack, et cetera, et cetera. I would probably suggest that there's a little more to that. I don't think that she just randomly went in and picked somebody out of the crowd and started beating her. I think there's more to it. Certainly not excusing that type of behavior. But anyway, look around. There's just all types of things. And what gets me is when I see comments like, there's this brawl went on for a long time. Where was the staff? Where was the administration? Where was what do you want them to do? Right? That's my next question. What would you expect them to do? And you say, well, you got to go in there and tell them to stop. Well, okay, sure. That's what they always say. Tell them to stop fighting. Do you think that's going to make it stop? Right? You know what they're doing? They're not going to get in the middle of that. I've known a lot of teachers. Now, I used to get in the middle of that only because I didn't care. When I was in middle school, I wasn't in a high school. What do you want them to do? You go in there, you get in the middle of that, and then what's going to happen is the teachers or administrators, whoever who try and break the stuff up, they're then going to be in trouble. I mean, they're not automatically, but who knows? A kid says, "Well, he grabbed me." Some kid's getting ready to punch him, and you grab him, and then and I've had this happen before. If you come up behind a kid and you give him like a little bear hug from behind, and you restrict his arms, now he gets hit. Right now you're getting sued because he restricted my arm. It's crazy. It's crazy. So what do you want them to do? The teacher's like, I'm not getting in the middle of that. I'm going to do what I'm told to do. I'm going to call for help. Right. So everybody's calling for help. I can assure you there were probably 3 or 4 people on cafeteria duty. There probably should have been more, but there was probably only a couple. That's a whole nother issue. And what do? They probably got on the radio, said, I got a problem down here, I need some help down here. People started coming. And what's a cop going to do? Suppose there's an SRO. Suppose there's one SRO or maybe 2. I'm not sure. What are they going to do? They're going to start macing, I guess. I don't know. And then what happens? And then the SRO's in trouble because he's everybody's starting coughing and hacking, and they got to take everybody to the hospital. And then the next level of the outrage starts. It goes to the parents are very upset as well. They should be. Then you get the statements from the county. This behavior absolutely will not be tolerated, blah, blah, blah. Well, what does that mean it won't be tolerated? Right? Their hands are tied. Trust me, folks, I can tell you right now, but if you were to go into those principal and those assistant principals and say, I want you to round all these kids up and toss them out, they would love to do that. They would be they would be jumping for joy to do that. The teachers would love that. The good kids would love that. But guess what? They can't because of Maryland law. Yes, everybody is entitled to this. Everybody's entitled to that. And even if you do, look at that video, and that's probably exactly what's going to happen. They're going to review that video. They've got a lot of surveillance from in the schools. I used to look at it all the time. They're going to pick certain kids out and say, well, this kid did this, and they're going to round them all up. They'll probably suspend 8 or 10 of them for 3 or 5 days. They'll probably take, the one kid you could see is just steadily wailing away on the other kid. He's probably going to go to the board, which means he's going to be potentially expelled. But what does that mean? Okay, let's say you get, let's say they round, let's talk specifics here. Say you round up, you look at all that video and you go, okay, I have 20 kids involved. And the county says, you know what, suspend them all. Great. You're going to suspend 20 kids. All right. First of all, they're going to go to the principal and say, well, the principal, you really shouldn't be suspending 20 kids, but hey, we're behind you on this and we're going to do it. Of those 20 kids, and I'm just making this up on my own, of those 20 kids, we're going to take 5 of them to the board, right? Which means you're going to take them to the area superintendent's designee with the recommendation of expulsion, and he or she then decides, the designee that they decide if the kid gets removed from school. So let's say you got 15 that are going to get suspended and say 5 are going to get expelled or going to recommend for expulsion. So of the 15, you suspend them for a couple of days. Guess what? They're coming back. Next thing you know, if this happens on a Wednesday, by Monday or Tuesday next week, they're walking the halls again, right? Especially if they've never had any issues before. The kids who get expelled, right, they'll go to an alternative school. Now, in high school, I think it used to be 3 quarters or 2 quarters rather. So we are in February. It'll probably take you through the rest of the year because it'll be through the rest of or we're in March. I'm sorry. Yeah, so they'll be expelled through the rest of the year. But guess what? First quarter next year, when school opens, if they haven't graduated, you're going to see them on day one walking right back through the door. If this happened earlier in the year, like if it happened in September or something like that, you'd see them come second half of the year. I mean, they would just be back. Kids are not just removed. Now things have changed. There are other options. There's online learning, things of that nature. But the bottom line is they're not just going to kick these kids out. And not to mention, think about this, special education. If any of those kids in that mix that you're trying to suspend, or especially if you're trying to expel, is a special education student, maybe he or she has a learning disability, or maybe they have what's called a 504 plan, or they have what's called an IEP for, say, ADHD, or they're emotionally disturbed or something of that nature. Now they have a whole list of other protections. Then they could, advocates could then make a case and say, well, he was provoked. He was provoked. He can't control his anger. He was provoked, blah, blah, blah. And then that's a whole nother, it's a mess, folks. It's a mess. And I've been in the middle of those, and I'm glad I'm not in the middle of them anymore. But it's just, and here's another little tidbit that a lot of people don't realize. You better hope that every one of those kids who you're going to suspend or you're going to take to the superintendent's designee, that you have some kind of a signature, right? Some kind of a signature for that student that says that he or she was given a presentation by an administrator on the handbook, on the student behavior handbook, because I've seen teachers attacked and the student it comes right back because we didn't have it never happened to me, but I've known some people it happened to. When students first come, especially new transfer students. They come in from who knows where. All of a sudden, they come in with the counselor. The counselor meets them. They give them a schedule. They send them to class, right? What happens in the first, and then the administrator, maybe misses it or doesn't catch it, or maybe the counselor doesn't tell the administrator there's a new student. The kid goes out and does something really crazy, and they start looking at his file and say, we don't even have a piece of paper in here with a signature on it that says he was made aware of the student handbook and made aware of his rights, et cetera, et cetera. You better hope that you have a signature for every one of those kids you're going to expel, because if you don't, it's not going to stand. So anyway, that's the mess that we're in. And this mess is not the fault of the school, folks. Take my word for it. It is not the fault of the school. It is not the fault of the administrators, It is a state level issues where they just keep passing these laws that protect and protect and protect, and now they slowly, and this is the kind of stuff that happens. Anyway, it's only my opinion. I'd love to hear anybody who thinks of that there's any other issues that I'd like to be aware of. So thanks. Have a great day.